Ever scroll through those dating app profiles and think, ugh, there's got to be a better way? Well, buckle up, because today's deep dive might just hold the answer.
Okay.
Get this. We're talking ancient Roman dating advice.
Really?
From Ovid's The Art of Love. It's a 2,000-year-old poem that's surprisingly relevant even now.
Wow, 2,000 years old. That's incredible. I mean, what could they possibly have known back then that would apply to dating today?
Right. But that's the thing. It's full of these amazing insights into, like, seduction and relationships. It's wild.
So, are we ditching the dating apps? Going old school?
Forget Tinder. We're going really old school.
I'm intrigued. So tell me, who was this Ovid? Was he like the Roman Hitch, dishing out love advice on every street corner?
Well, not exactly. He was a poet during the reign of Emperor Augustus. And get this, Augustus was kind of a stickler for traditional values. He was all about reforming Roman morals.
Oh, wow. So a time of lavish spectacles and, moral reform. That's quite a backdrop for a poem about love. I can already sense some juicy contradictions.
It's like trying to impose a curfew in the middle of a wild party, right?
Exactly. So how does a poem about the art of love fit into this whole moral reform thing?
That's the thing. Ovid wasn't afraid to push boundaries. He actually got banished from Rome, possibly because of this poem.
Ooh, scandalous. Sounds like my kind of poet.
Right. So while Augustus is over here like, let's bring back traditional values, Ovid's like, hold my toga. Let me drop some truth bombs about how to win at love.
I love it. So what's the main message? What's his big secret to winning at love?
Okay, so get ready for this. Ovid doesn't see love as some mystical force. He treats it like a skill.
A skill. Okay, I'm listening.
He compares it to, get this, warfare.
Love is warfare. That's a bold statement. So are we talking grand romantic gestures or something more strategic?
Think of it more like you have to be strategic, you have to observe, be cunning even.
Cunning, you say.
Yeah.
Now, before we go painting Ovid as some sort of love manipulator, we do need to keep in mind the context of Roman society, right?
Totally. Times were different then. But I think what's so cool about his approach is that he's basically saying, don't just wait around for love to find you.
Go after what you want.
Exactly. Take charge, make it happen. He really wants his readers to take control of their love lives. It's pretty inspiring, actually.
Okay, I'm starting to see why this is relevant even today. So tell me, what are some of the specific strategies Ovid recommends? How do you actually wage war in the name of love?
Well, he says, men should really study the person they like.
Okay, so do your research. Got it.
Yeah, learn their habits, figure out what they desire, anticipate their needs. It's almost like he wants you to really think like a general studying the battlefield.
Interesting. So it's not just about blindly pursuing someone. It's about strategy and understanding.
Right. And here's where it gets even more interesting. He's a big believer in a little bit of playful deception.
Playful deception. Okay, now you have to elaborate. Give me an example. How are people being encouraged to be strategically deceptive?
Well, he has this one line where he says, if you are too ardent, your love will be burdensome. And then he says, be more sparing of yourself, and you will be more prized.
Oh, it's good. Little mystery, a little playing hard to get. It's like he wrote the book on the rules.
Right. It's kindness advice. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Ovid has a whole playbook for navigating love, from that initial spark to, dare we say it, happily ever after.
Okay, so there's a whole strategy to this. It's not just about playing hard to get. It's about the long game. I'm hooked. Tell me everything.
Well, his advice actually progresses through the 3 books of The Art of Love.
Oh, how so?
He starts with finding love, then he moves on to how to keep the spark alive, and finally, he dedicates an entire book to advising women.
Whoa, hold on. He gives advice to women. Now, that is surprising, especially for ancient Rome. What kind of advice are we talking about here?
That's what we're going to dig into next.
Okay, you've got me on the edge of my seat. So, in a society that often, relegated women to the sidelines, Ovid basically tells them, hey, be the leading lady in your own love story.
He's like a Roman-era feminist.
Right. He's encouraging them to embrace their agency, play hard to get, even be a little mysterious.
I love that. It's that classic push and pull that, let's be honest, still works today.
Yeah.
But what did that look like in ancient Rome? How are women supposed to achieve this balance?
Well, he gets really specific. Like, he'll tell women to master the art of subtle signals.
Ooh, like what?
A fleeting glance, a knowing smile, things like that, just to keep their admirers on their
It's
toes.
all about being strategic and a little bit playful.
Exactly. And he even encourages them to be seen at social gatherings.
He's like, get out there and work that toga.
Basically. He wants women to be seen, to be desired, and to make their own choices. And this was a time when that was pretty revolutionary.
Wow, it's incredible how ahead of his time he was. But honestly, this whole idea of strategic flirting, of understanding how to pique someone's interest without being too obvious, I mean, that still resonates today, doesn't it?
Totally. It's like, who hasn't spent way too long crafting the perfect text message or trying to perfect their casually interested face?
Right. Like Ovid basically created the original dating app strategy guide, just swap togas for, well, whatever people wear these days. But I'm curious, does he have any advice for those relationships that go beyond the initial spark?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's big on keeping that spark alive, even in long-term relationships.
Okay, so spill the ancient Roman secrets. How do you keep the flame burning bright?
Oh, one of the biggest things he talks about is effort. He's constantly reminding readers that love takes work and even the strongest flames can die without a little tending.
And by tending, does he mean grand romantic gestures? Or is it more about the little things?
It's actually both. He definitely believes in those thoughtful gestures, but he also really emphasizes those smaller, everyday things.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Things like sharing a laugh, being a good listener, making an effort to keep things interesting. Basically, just showing your partner that you care.
It's those small gestures that really add up over time.
Exactly. He understood that relationships, much like gardens, need constant nurturing if you want them to thrive.
Oh, I love that analogy. It's so true, though. We get so caught up in our busy lives that we forget to nurture those relationships. So what else did Ovid suggest?
Well, he really stressed the importance of quality time together, finding those little ways to connect and rekindle that romance. He encouraged couples to share experiences, to make each other laugh, to never stop courting each other, even after years of being together.
It's a good reminder that relationships take work. But those rewards, that deep connection and love, that's worth it, right?
Absolutely. He's basically saying, don't let that flame die out. And that's a message that feels so relevant even today, thousands of years later.
It really is. But you know what else I find fascinating? This whole idea of love as a performance, which Ovid talks about a lot.
Oh, yeah, right? He often compares courtship to a theatrical performance where everyone's playing a role.
Wait, really? Like even back then, they understood that there's this element of performance when you're trying to attract someone.
Totally. He actually encourages his readers to be mindful of their appearance, what they say, how they act. He's like, always try to present yourself in the best possible light.
It's all about putting your best foot forward.
Exactly. He compares it to actors on a stage, trying to captivate their audience with their charm and charisma.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Wait a minute. Is Ovid saying we should be fake? But it's not really about being deceptive. It's about being self-aware. It's about understanding that first impressions matter. And that's true whether you're in ancient Rome or scrolling through Tinder. It's like he predicted Instagram centuries ago.
Right.
It really makes you think, have we really changed all that much?
I mean, we might have traded togas for, I don't know, skinny jeans and those Roman chariots for Ubers.
And those scrolls for smartphones?
Exactly. But those core desires, that vulnerability you feel when you put your heart out there, those are universal, timeless experiences.
It's kind of comforting in a weird way.
Right.
Like even centuries ago, people were dealing with the same dating dramas.
Exactly. And I think revisiting the art of love, it reminds us that we're not alone in this. I mean, yeah, some of his advice might seem a little outdated now.
I know, winning over a date at a chariot race still sounds pretty impressive.
Okay, true. But those underlying principles, like confidence, wit, understanding what your, quote, audience is looking for, those never go out of style.
Okay, so if we had to distill Ovid's wisdom for our listeners, what would be like the key takeaways from the art of love? What
Yeah.
can we learn from this ancient love guru?
I think he would tell us to approach love as both a game and a journey. You can be playful, be strategic even, but also be genuine.
Okay, I like that.
He'd definitely remind us love takes effort. It's like those Roman sculptures. You have to really sculpt it and take care of it.
It's a good way to put it. So it's not just about letting love happen, it's about making it happen, right?
Exactly.
Well, as we wrap up our deep dive into the art of love, any final thoughts for our listeners?
I would say this. The next time you're stressing over a date, or you're feeling lost in this whole crazy world of love, just remember Ovid.
Remember Ovid.
Right, remember that people have been navigating these exact same complexities for millennia. And yeah, the rules of the game might have changed, but that desire for love, for connection, that's timeless.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
So go forth, listeners. Use your newfound wisdom from Ovid, and don't forget your own unique charm. And remember, just like in ancient Rome, love favors the bold.
Here.
Until next time, happy dating, everyone.